Ahead of the United Nations Summit of the Future set to hold in September 2024, African and global governance experts have begun a dialogue that will ensure that Africa's concerns are at the forefront. This follows the need to address the inefficiencies of the global body's policies, which are said to not reflect an equitable representation of concerns of all continents, especially Africa. The report.
The United Nations in recent years has faced growing calls for reforms to make it more effective and relevant in the modern world. Top on the list of issues to be addressed are the expansion of the Security Council to include more permanent and non-permanent members, with a more balanced representation of different regions and countries, as well as reform of the veto power, among others. But governments across the region argue that it is time the continent is put on the forefront of such matters.
As a government, we are seriously concerned about rising threats of widespread terrorism across international borders, insurgency, and the disruptive intervention of the military in governance in Africa, particularly in West Africa.
More wholesome, more egalitarian, with human rights and human obligations promoted and protected. That the UN will need to deal with the present day world.
If at that time that the UN was formed with 3 African countries, none was found fit to be in the permanent membership category of the United Nations Security Council, which is the major arm of the UN dealing with international peace and security.
Stakeholders say, although the UN's mandate since its inception is relevant in the face of global challenges, it must, however, be reinvented to capture the present-day realities. They also believe that, with political will, recommendations will be considered and implemented going forward, while confronting the meddling tendencies of superpowers.
UN Security Council is old, outdated, and not reflecting the world as it looks today. I think it should be enlarged. I think there should be countries from the different continents like Asia, Africa, that is not sitting in the Security Council today. And there is a really need for reform.
African countries are right, Africa is right, to play a bigger role on that. That's why that a more equitable UN is needed, and the role of Africa in this new UN also is needed.
Look forward to a practical outcome which will include the establishment of an African network of think tanks which will follow up on the recommendations of this dialogue to feed into the United Nations Summit of the Future, where all heads of states of member states of the UN, over 190 of them, will discuss what the future of the United Nations should be.
With Africa, like its counterparts, at the forefront, the United Nations is expected to collaborate with other global organizations to tackle challenges such as climate change, terrorism, and humanitarian crisis facing Africa particularly. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.